And I'll say, number one, I'm not going to tell you anything because I don't know anything about your business. We need that IHOP conversation. We need to do that first. And I said, if you ask that or somebody tells you and they don't know about your business, turn the other way because they're not going to give you information that's going to work for you.
Welcome to Agency Unplugged. I'm Michael Morris, and with me, I'm very excited about this conversation because I've known this person for a long, long time without ever having a conversation with Brian Butkowski. Did I say it correctly? Because I said I was going to blow it.
You blew it. You knew you would.
God, sure. And I'm going to tell people why I blew it, because I was thinking of Butkowski, and I couldn't get it out of my head. And I even said, Brian, say it to me 100 times so I don't get it wrong. And I blew it. So you tell the audience how I messed it up.
It's all right. My name is Brian Butkowski. All
Okay.
good.
Now we can move on.
I get it sometimes, so it's all right.
Well, you said men of a certain age, right? So you have to be over 40 to understand the reference.
Absolutely.
And yet we're doing this on a social media thing where most people are probably 21 years old.
Fair Potentially.
Enough.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So I'm excited just because of our interactions, but let people know what it is you do for a living. Cause I've checked out, you've got a lot of video work that you've done, the podcast work that you've done, but also just what you're doing for clients. Like the biggest thing for me that I love is I'm actually seeing people giving feedback of your work, and they're not saying, Smith Media did this and that. They're actually saying your name. And I think that's unusual because a lot of people give credit to the business more than the name, but they really seem to love what you're doing. So give people a little bit of your background.
Sure. So the quick part on my background is, I'll say this. I'm a graphic designer by trade. I have a BFA. That's what I did. I started as a web designer, but knew very quickly that I would do more than just take orders and be a designer. I wanted to help clients to really understand where we were going. If we were building a website that was brand new, fresh, nice, but everything has to match that. The worst thing that we'd ever want is for a client to, meet somebody, give a business card that looks a certain way, and then all of a sudden they have this website they might go to from that card and it looks completely different. So I've been entrepreneurial all my life and really took that to another level once I started my career kind of as a web designer, worked with the powers that be inside those companies that I worked for, and really made sure that we solved the client problem and made sure that the clients were being served so they could have a cohesive brand. And really that's where I kind of built my entire career as where I am now from that, is understanding that, there's more to anything that we do when it comes to brand. It's not just one thing, it's everything. Brands are pervasive. So really I worked as the marketing team of one or two for small companies throughout my career. And then now about 8 years ago at this point, I've always freelanced. I've done extra stuff outside of my day jobs, but really have decided to break things off and bring my skills and expertise to a multitude of clients, meeting them at their level. So for certain clients, I can just help them with maybe some of their collateral materials. I can help them with some design work. I do that for a lawyer right now. Mostly all I help them with is making sure that their folders look good, their sell sheets look good. For other clients, I might help on the digital side with their website. And then for others, I'll consult and really help them and be that fractional marketing person or fractional brand and marketing person that they need inside their company, to either work with some of the people on their teams, to help take care of things on the outside from my perspective. Or what I really like to do is bring in experts to help. I look at things from a very high level, help with strategy and can self-perform some things, but when needed, especially when it comes to like digital advertising, obviously some of the stuff that you guys might do and what your media company would do, I look for experts to bring in, and I can easily, one, make those referrals and hand those off. I can easily work as a consultant to make sure that the people understand what's going to be happening with these experts that they might need to utilize. Or one of the biggest ones is when clients come to me and say, hey, Brian, I'm not sure how to do X, Y, and Z. You know what? Can you just do this for me? Can you get this done? Can you be my GC or whatever the case may be? Just take care of this. I want one person to contact. You take care of this for me, and I trust you, and let's get this done. So that's really the gist of how I help people. And the biggest thing, I've been working through my brand over the last, again, 8 years or so, and trying to really talk about it appropriately. But the biggest thing I think I really help people with is to attract their most profitable and rewarding clients and customers. That's really where I try to think that the pain point I'm solving is, hey, do you know who they are? Do you know how to reach them? Let's attract them. Let's make sure that that's the people you're doing the most business with are the ones that matter to you most. And surprisingly to me, and one of the ways that I really came to that is sometimes people don't know. I'll talk to business owners and they think that they are their audience, and that's not necessarily always the case. So helping them to understand that, feel comfortable, and really everything I do is based on listening, and really helping people to understand, again, this stuff isn't rocket science, but let's see what the root problems are, what things we're trying to accomplish, what are our goals, and how do we make that happen in an affordable way that can work for them and be comfortable. So I spoke a lot there. There was a lot there. You might have some questions.
No, that's okay. Normally it goes the other way, but you gave me a lot to kind of pick and choose. Normally the person that's on the show with me just stares at me like a cigar store Indian, and I'm like, so I guess I'll just keep talking. When you're with your background, because all the things that you said are they're things that we say on the show all the time, but where does that come from? Like, what was your experience that you got into this side doing it for yourself? Because typically what I see is that there are two ways it goes. You either work for a company, you see everything that's wrong in the way that they're doing, and you say, we can do it better. Or the other part is, I've learned a lot here, but they haven't finish the math, meaning you have a shell of something, but I'm going to take it on my own and go that way. Which way was it? You got irritated by something? You said that I want to do it the opposite way, or that you said, this is good. I always say if, and, but then, right? Whatever you're doing, you're never finished, right? Everything's always evolving, whether it's a campaign, a radio campaign, billboard, or whatever. It's what is the next thing to attach to this, because that's when you're growing. If you stop, campaigns eventually slow down, creative gets old. Which way did you do it? I'm just curious.
So I'll answer that in a second, because I do want to go back to two things I kind of, I don't know if I mentioned my company, the name of it is Bomb Image. That's me. I am the only real employee per se. I don't have others. So that might be why people come to me and they say, hey, Brian helped us, or again, trying to build that relationship is really the key with me. And that will kind of lead into the next thing. To me, one of the things that got me into doing this on my own for myself is I've seen way too many people get bamboozled, get taken advantage of, or just simply not know what they're trying to accomplish or understand that, and get sold things. People are selling marketing to people. And to be honest with you, you've talked about this, I think, on other episodes and things. That kills me to hear somebody say they're selling marketing. No, we're selling solutions. We're selling people the ability to get to that next level if they are stuck or where they are in life. And for me, that was kind of one of my main passions, was helping people the right way. Again, even if it's just helping them understand something, even if they're not working with me. Hey, so-and-so said I need to do this. Okay, why? Why is my big question. I ask questions, I listen, and I've really worked on being the best attentive and intentional listener that I can be for my clients, so that I can really interact and help them understand, work in their language, not just a bunch of jargon, not just a bunch of bull that they get fed, but help them really understand, hey, yeah, this might work, or this might work at this point in time, or here's where we might want to start. So those things were kind of the really important things. And to the other part of your question, I was working for a roof consultancy as their marketing manager, as their acting marketing director, and basically worked myself out of a job. I mean that in a very, very good way. I helped them with their messaging. I helped them to understand that the business owner isn't necessarily, his likes and what he does isn't necessarily exactly what they're trying to accomplish when they're trying to reach their potential decision makers, we'll put it that way. And then really worked with them to try to come up with, and again, in their world, really amplify a lot of their networking. They're a B2B company. That's a lot of what I have been kind of working with a lot, bringing personality to the forefront. And then I trained a bunch of people inside the organization to do some of the things that I was doing. So we had an office manager that wanted to learn how to do email campaigns, wanted to work on the website, wanted to work on certain other things that I was just handling. And as I'm doing that, I was sitting there at one point in time. I revamped their website a couple of times, worked on the content, worked through with a couple of different directors of sales to kind of get a good feel on how we wanted to present everything. And I was sitting there in a sales support mode and thinking, this is great, this is nice, and I was getting a decent salary and everything, but thinking like there's got to be more to this. To I guess some of what you were asking, and thinking, hey, how could I help better? And do they need me in this role? Do they need me in this role permanently? I don't think they need me there 40 hours a week, 50 hours a week as a salaried employee. What if I could do this on a smaller basis, still help them and get them to where they need to go? But then I could also do this for other companies. And that was really the genesis of where I was at. In about 2016, I was turning 40 years old and decided I was always waiting for the right thing to be the most passionate about, that I was going to try and build another business out of and do my own thing and strike out on my own, but kind of found that this was it. And knowing that a couple of opportunities presented themselves, and if I didn't do something now at that age, it wasn't going to happen. So I made some deals with my wife and my girls to not try to work too many hours or 80 hours a week and all that kind of thing, but made some deals and kind of went out on my own. And it's been a real journey since then. Some of the things I thought were going to work out did not initially, but as things transpired, I think I'm building a real company that people can care about. To your point, that I'm building these relationships that people know they can count on me. And I'm not, one thing I always wanted to do is I did not want to build a transactional business. I don't want to just do one thing for somebody. I want to build a relationship. And again, someone might not use me for a year and a half, but they know when to use me or my company as they need, and make sure that I'm there for them, and they know that. And that's really the ultimate key on what I'm doing. So did that kind of answer it?
100%. So when I started, so I spent 14 years in radio, and my background was I wanted to be in radio because my dad, we would always get in the car and listen to 700 WLW as a kid to go run errands or whatever. I knew that was a job, but I didn't know anyone sold anything to pay for it. I thought that was like a public service. I go through college. I don't know that anyone sells commercials or any of that. So when I get my first job, I'm thinking it's to be on the air, and I'm like, this is fantastic. And then when I find out it's a sales job, and I said, well, who are you selling this to? And they said to clients. And I go, people pay for this? I thought the commercials, I literally said to this, to the guy that hired me, I thought the commercials ran so they could go to the bathroom or get something to eat. I thought it was just, you guys can take a break. That's how uneducated I was about the business of media. But when you're in it, what you see, because you're in the media, regardless of what part you are, whenever you're talking to outside people to try to draw them in to buy something, to visit, whatever, that is a skill. What is lost and has been lost in the last 15, 20 years is the people who sell it now are selling you a widget. They're selling you a space. Whether it works or not does not matter. Do you know what I mean? So it makes me insane. It makes me insane because I just, before this show was starting, this entire week I've been lightly jabbing with a client. A television rep wanted to sell him something that everything is frequency, whether it's you post on Facebook, whether it's run commercials, all that. What's happened over time is there's more commercials than there is content. So if you don't run more commercials to keep up with it, your frequency is lower, right? We're all lab rats. If you get a frequency of 3 on anything, they'll know who you are, what you do, and what you want them to do. Do you want me to go to the website, buy, blah, blah, blah. Over time, that same schedule we would have bought 10 years ago doesn't have the same effect. And that's all I was trying to say to him. So the television rep says to him, because I was willing to have coffee and show him, I'll explain all of this to you because I've done all the math and I want people to understand. And he says to my client, I'm not talking to him. I don't talk to my competition. We're in the same business. You're not competing with me. I'm the one handing you the money. Just meet with me.
Right.
They've become so territorial over the client, over the money, not over the result. And if you're not result driven, which I think is a really cliche thing, everyone says we're results driven, we're ROI focused. I think that's great. Explain how you're going to get me an ROI. Sure. Like in what you're doing, if you're building a site and someone will say, well, how does this make me money? Well, Let me tell you, and boom, 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 right? Whenever I'm doing something, what I want to know is how do you make money, right? So if you're a roofer, and this is free advice for a roofer, the average roof is $10,000. Your profit is 40%. So it's $4,000 a roof, right? So if I do a deal and it's $4,000, I only have to sell you one roof. Now, if we do it for $4,000 and you sell 10, it doesn't cost more. What we do by doing these, whether you're building sites or doing social media campaigns, whatever you're doing has got to have a result attached. And I always say after a 45 to 60 day window, you should see a 3-to-1 return. But your investment level, we know what you make per item or per sale, and this is what you're going to spend to get there. No one will argue with that. What I find odd is everybody else, if I'm just selling shelf space, I can't care if you make money if I have to make money first, if my station or my group has to make money first. And that's what bothers me is the clients are set up to fail because the person who's selling them the campaign has no idea how to make them money. The way it used to work a long time ago is if you go back to the 50s and 60s, the heyday of marketing and advertising, they were divided. The person that did the creative never talked to the client about what their spend was and vice versa. Now we have to do everything. So I'm sure you have people crying on your shoulder on a Friday night at 9:00. My campaign's not working, blah, blah, blah. And I had to fire someone. You have to be a camp counselor as well as try to help them make money, right?
Absolutely. I find that half of what I do is almost being like that counselor or the therapist, even.
Yeah.
I mean, it goes far beyond even, again, when you start talking to a business about how they make money or talk to a business owner about how they make money, you start even talking about operations, you're talking about employees, how do these things happen? And yeah, there's a lot that goes into that, especially if you're kind of overarching and you become that counselor, therapist, all of those things. And one of the things that I find somewhat difficult, and there are ways that we can look at it, but like a lot of what I do from a branding perspective, if I'm helping somebody kind of revamp what they're doing with their brand, with their logo, putting all the pieces together with typography, layout, all the different things, building all their style guides and all that stuff and making sure that the message is as cohesive as possible. Sometimes that's hard to attribute exact return on investment. But to me, I also go back to, well, what could be lost in translation if things aren't right? So we try to, value those things appropriately. And again, solve a problem. There's way too many people. And again, what I just said, I talked about a brand or logo. I'm not necessarily the consultant or the person that wants to come into a company or visit with somebody, say, you need to change this, you need to change that, because I can make a quick change. I actually am more the opposite. I'd rather take a methodical approach and really work out things. And again, ask questions and understand, hey, where are your gaps? What is it? And maybe there's a point in time they're not working with me right now. Maybe they need somebody more like you. They have some things in order. I'm not trying to, make business for myself, or again, to your point, I have to make money before you do. Right. No, let's make you successful and we can all be successful. And those are the relationships and the clients. And I really do, again, you say stuff that's cliche. I really look at my clients as my partners. I really want to be a part of their team. I want to be a cog in the wheel of what they're doing. If it's this much or that much, whatever it makes sense for them, make it work for them. So I couldn't agree more with what you're saying. And yes, I hate to see people just try to sell things. No, what's the solution? And again, maybe at this point in time or this time of year, this ad campaign isn't the right one. Maybe we need to switch that up or shift gears or change things up. And too many people are only, when they're reps or whatever, they're only looking at their own self-interest and, oh yeah, this will be great for you. Okay, what does that mean?
And when I say that, because I do say it a lot, but I always say it with this caveat. I'm not being disrespectful because I understand. Every media company on the planet, other than, I don't count Apple, but they do have Apple TV and Amazon. They're all bankrupt companies. They're existing on day-to-day sales to please shareholders to say we're going in the right direction. If the top tells you we need you to sell, you can't be part of the process for each client to help them, because your job is you've got to move this inventory because every 30 seconds it's expiring if someone's not using it, right?
Yep.
So
build the calendar.
To me, the most important thing is I don't care what works for somebody. I want to find what's broken. and I want to find as many broken things as I can. Because that's the real juice, is when you can, if somebody's website is terrible and their traffic is low, let's say you don't even change the website first. If you can build that traffic, but you see that the bounce rate is really high, you've identified a problem that they may not even be aware of and say, look, this website was better. You could keep them longer. What information are you sharing to keep them here? Now we've identified something we can build on. Every single thing that's wrong, if you can fix it or you can find a solution, now you're part of the team. You're involved. And I always look at it like when somebody brings me in, there are no retainers. I don't do that. I only get paid on the campaigns that I launch. But I will spend probably 20 hours on a client on something that's broken because I want to fix it. You know, not selfishly, but I want you to know if we do this, these will be the results. Because I always tell people there's only two reasons we won't work together. Either you don't pay or I'm dead. That's the only rules, right? Because I am loyal to people. If you want to quit, that's okay. I don't take it personally because that's just how things are. But those people will come back, like you said earlier. And when they come back, there's no, oh, you missed me, did you? It's not that. It's what can I help you do? All the time, what can I help you do? If you are invested in helping another person get to where they want to go, they're not going to get rid of you. I think the hardest thing, especially in what you're doing, is that first meeting, and you can tell me if I'm wrong. Do people, what do they ask you first? What's this going to cost, or what can you do versus somebody else?
The cost one isn't the first one, but I think it can be very prohibitive. I try to purport myself to know I'm not the lowest cost. So if you want to talk to me, that hopefully there's some expectation that, you know, that's not the issue. Yeah, what can you do for me? Or I guess one of my biggest ones, and this goes back to some of the stuff that you've talked about in various capacities. And yeah, I'm not here to bag on people, but one of the things I've seen is I'll be at a networking event or something, and I'll say, yeah, you know, what do you do? When I break it down, hey, I do branding and marketing. Oh, you're in marketing. What should I do with my business? How should I market my business?
Oh, you mean the free consultation at the IHOP, you mean?
Well, even before the meeting, I just meet them before a real meeting. They'll ask me that, and I'll say, number one, I'm not going to tell you anything because I don't know anything about your business. We need that IHOP conversation. We need to do that first. And I said, if you ask that or somebody tells you and they don't know about your business, turn the other way, because they're not going to give you information that's going to work for you because they don't know anything about you. We need to have a little bit of a dialogue to understand. So yeah, when it comes to the actual, you know, the conversation, the coffee, yeah, what are you going to do? What does this mean? I think is really the biggest one for me. And really, the way I try to answer that is I ask more questions than tell people stuff, if that makes sense. 100%. And when they ask that, they, hey, you know, what are you going to do for me? Well, let me see where these broken problems might be, or what you might be missing. Maybe you don't need much from me. Maybe you don't need anything from me at all. Maybe there's some other ways that we can look at this. And again, I always try to be a resource. And usually my first consultation is almost always free. I give lots of free advice. Hey, even if you don't work with me, I would do X, Y, and Z after we have our conversation. But hopefully build that rapport and help them understand that, hey, I'm here to help. And yeah, I think to your question, it's not necessarily about the cost, and it can be prohibitive, but it's more about, yeah, what are you going to do? And what does this look like? How are you going to help me?
I always say
questions before I could ever get there.
Yeah. I always say that if you're investing in something that's going to make you money, there is no cost. It's costly if you do it wrong. Brian, would you be willing to come back and do a part 2 of this? Because we kind of run out of time. But I would love, there's so much more I want to ask you. Can I get you to stay?
Absolutely.
Okay. You've been listening to Agency Unplugged. Part 2 is coming next.